This week we're going to look at Chapter 1 with CIST 1510. We're looking at Introduction to Internet and Web Design. What we will do is we'll go through the presentation, then we'll look at the code and the assignment for this week's chapter. All right, so once you finish this chapter, you should have mastered the following materials: define the internet and associated key terms. Recognize different internet protocols. Be able to discuss web browsers and identify their main features. Main part of this is going to be planning a website for the target audience, designing a wireframe and a site map. It's important to plan your website to get an idea of how you want your site to look before you start coding your site. We'll also look at how to use graphics, navigation tools, color, text. We'll look at designing for accessibility, designing for multi-platform display. We're also going to look at the definition of hypertext markup language, which is HTML, and the different elements that make up HTML. We'll look at some web authoring tools, and we'll create a basic HTML web page. Okay, so the internet is a worldwide network. It is the largest network in the world. Millions of people, billions of people access the internet. The current standard is HTML 5.2. It's the most recent version of HTML. We just simply call it HTML5. The project for this chapter is creating a basic web page. All right, so in this basic web page, now you're going to be doing your work in MindTap. But if you were creating a basic web page outside of MindTap, these are the steps you would take. You would run a text editor, create a blank document. Now the text editor, the one I prefer is Notepad++, and we'll look at that in just a second. You'll enter your HTML tags, the text for the web page, save the web page. Now it's important you save it as an HTML, a .html document. That allows your browser program to recognize it as a website and open up the page. So looking at this example here is, excuse me, looking at a web page in Notepad++, you'll see at the top, first of all, let me close this change log. You'll see here at the top, we have different tags. On the tab, it's the name of the file is plan.html. Okay, we have first our declaration. We'll go over all this more as we go through the presentation. We define it as an HTML. Now, I do want to point out right now, though, that when you have an opening tag, you also need a closing tag. Okay, so these will work in pairs. These elements will work in pairs as this. Okay, so I want you guys to make sure you go through the section on the internet, read through this. The web, excuse me, the internet is a worldwide collection of computers that are linked together. The devices connected to them are nodes. It's any device that's connected to the network. It could be a computer, a tablet, smartphone. Data lines that are connected to the network. That allows the data to move from one computer to another. And on this, we have the internet backbone. It's a collection of high-speed data lines that connect major computer systems that's around the world. You also have an internet service provider. That's a company that's going to give you a permanent connection to the internet backbone. Now on this, we have the World Wide Web. It's also called just the web. It's a service that provides access to web servers. Okay, the web server is going to have the web pages, link files in there, called the web pages. And a website is defined as a related collection of web pages. It's going to be created, maintained by a person, company, educational institution, or other organization. When you access a website, the first document you see is going to be the home page. Websites also will need hyperlinks. These are something generally are called links. That allows you to move from one web page to another. So it allows you to connect the web pages in to build a website. So we see an example here. We have our home page, and then we have our links here. So our navigation that we see on our websites are links. We also have other links here. Links can be internal or it can be external. So it can take you to another website, or it can be one that just leads to another web page that's within that same website itself. We do have a couple different protocols we need to discuss. Protocols are a set of rules that define how a client workstation can communicate with a server. The server is the computer that stores the resources and the files of the website. So we got a couple we're going to talk about is the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, or HTTP. That's the rules that are set up for exchanging text, graphics, audio, video, and other multimedia files on the web. The other protocol we're going to look at here is the FTP, the File Transfer Protocol. That's used to exchange files from one computer to another over the internet. This does not allow you to view web pages, such as using a browser. So this is, so you create a web page, you need to upload it, you use the FTP service to send it to your server. You also have the TCP/IP, that's the Transmission Control Protocol/Internet Protocol. And this is used to transfer data efficiently over the internet. And what this does, it routes that data to the proper destination. The IP, the Internet Protocol, that ensures the data is sent to the correct location. We also have the Domain Name System, the DNS, that associates an IP address with a domain name. Okay, we use web browsers to view web pages. So this reads the code, interprets it, and displays the web page. Some of the most popular ones you'll see here listed is Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, Google Chrome, Apple Safari, and Opera. All right, so the URL is a Uniform Resource Locator. All right, that's the address of the document and other files accessible on the internet. So you see here we got the www.w3.org. Should not have the w3.org.com. So this should not exist. The domain, that's an area of an internet a particular organization or person manages. So we see the web browser, looking at this, we see our protocol, HTTPS. Okay, S means it is secure. And here we have our subdomain, which we also see our server domain name is the www. Or www is the subdomain, w3.org is the server domain name. We also see our web page location and the web page file name in this. And then this is together is our URL. We have a couple different types of websites we're going to talk about. Internet site, it's time for our website, and it's generally going to be available to anyone with an internet connection. Intranet is a private network that uses the internet technologies to allow a company to share information among employees. Extranet's a private network. It's also going to use the internet technology. It's allowed to share business information with corporate partners, key customers. Somebody has a private relationship with the organization. You also see e-commerce websites. These are electronic commerce. This is buying and selling of goods and services over the internet. And you will also see educational institutions using an LMS, a learning management system. Your LMS is Blackboard. So it's a web-based software application designed to facilitate online learning. Okay, so now we move into the part of planning a website. So when you look at the website, you're starting to design a website. First thing you need to say, what is the purpose of this website? What is the goal of it? Whether it is a commercial website, an educational website, um, a business for information. So you look at this. So the purpose of a commercial business website. So that's going to be related to selling goods or products. Education will be provided. The purpose of the website will be to provide information, educational resources to the students. And then you look at your target audience. Okay, so that's the people who's going to use the website. So if you know their general demographical background, that's going to help you design the website that's going to be appropriate for them. You also want to do a multi-platform display. That's a responsive design of website, so that the responsive design allows the site to adapt to the viewing device. So, for example, if you're developing for a cell phone or you're viewing a website on your cell phone, you want the users to be able to view the website best on their cell phone, but you also want them to be able to view that on a computer, tablet, across multiple devices. So the website has to be responsive. It has to be flexible and change depending on the device that the user is viewing the site on. All right, wireframe. That's a simple visual guide. It clearly identifies the location of the main web page elements. Okay, so you want to make sure that you leave the active white space. That's the area on the page that is intentionally left blank. Passive white space is the space between content. This allows the users to focus on one part of the page. So when we look at a wireframe, here we see we got our logo, we got our passive white space between the logo and the banner. So this would be an active white space example, where we're intentionally leaving it blank here. You want to make sure you do have some white space to break up your elements that you have. All right, sitemap is a planning tool that lists or displays all the pages on a website. And also is going to indicate how they are going to be related to each other. So this is basically showing the structure of the web page, or the website. So we'll look at a sitemap in the linear structure. So we'll know that we can move from the home page to training module 1, training module 2, and so forth. We'll look at this at a hierarchical structure. So we do have some different breakdowns in here. So we'll go to the training module 1, and under that we'll have a training module page 1, page 2, and so forth with training module 2 and 3. This is a web structure layout. So from here they can pretty much navigate to wherever they need to or they want to in this. Graphics are going to add visual appeal to your web page. These are used to enhance the visitor's perception of the product and services. It also makes your page more engaging and more appealing to the user. We see an example here of a Panda Express image. Imagine viewing this web page and having no graphics, just the text. And then I'll look at it as it is. Graphics make it more appealing. Use graphics, but be careful of the amount of graphics you use on your page. Also, navigation is very important for your website. That's something about navigation. It should be clear and concise. Each web page should have a design navigation area with links to other pages on the site. It should be something that is very prominent and easy to use and easy to find. When you're designing websites, there is a rule of 3 principles you should follow. That your users should never have to click more than 3 times to get where they're wanting to go. That's very important in navigation. All right, so check out your text. Make your text where it's something visual, appealing, the fonts, font styles. Make sure that it promotes the purpose and the goal of the website. You want to make sure that it is, first of all, it's easy to read. I would not recommend putting light text over a light background or dark text over a dark background. Careful of the images, using images with text in front of them. You want to make sure that you can read the text. You also want the same issue with the color. You want to have a balance between the background color and the color that represents the text or represents the brand. You want to make sure that the color allows the text to be read easily. We also have some common meanings for color. And these run a wide range. So an example, red could mean love, romance, anger, or energy. Blue, trust, loyalty, integrity, honesty, dependability, and so forth on these. So you want to make sure that your color that you've chosen represents the message you're trying to get through. All right, so you should also create your pages with a diverse audience in mind, including those that may have some physical impairments or some kind of difficulty accessing your site. If you go to the W3C, they are the ones that develops the web standards, and they have the accessibility recommendations listed there. You can also use that W3C or the W3 schools as well for a great resource for pretty much anything web related. All right, so when we look at the W3C standards, the goal of the web is to be accessible to all people, including those that may have disability that limits their ability to perform computer tasks. The Rehabilitation Act 1973 is going to prohibit discrimination against those with disabilities. All right, so, and it's just good business sense too. If you have a website, you do not want to exclude a portion of the population from being able to use your website or be able to view your website. If you've got a website that's e-commerce and you're selling goods, you want to make sure that you can sell as many goods as you can. So in good business sense, it would make, it's a good practice and a good business sense to have that site be accessible, as also required by law. All right, so when you're planning your checklist, you want to make sure you have your navigation, your text, color, accessibility. That's stuff that you need to consider when you're designing a website. You want to make sure that you research your business or the business of the site you're designing. It's competition, do a complete business analysis. After the planning stage, we're going to start looking now at the actual coding. We're going to start talking about HTML. Because the HTML is the hypertext markup language. These web pages are created using this. So we're creating these an authoring language. It's used to create documents for the web. Now in this, it's going to have a set of special instructions. These are called tags, and they're going to define the structure and layout of content in the web page. These tags, they're mark up the content on the web page. So this is considered a markup language rather than a traditional programming language. Okay, so when we start looking at the HTML elements, you're going to need two things with elements. You're going to need an opening tag or start tag and an end tag. These tags there's a whole range of things that can be accomplished with these tags. You can use them to enhance or add attributes to text, for example. If you wanted to add bold to one word, you can. You can use an HTML tag. If you want to create a link, insert an image, everything's going to be contained within these HTML tags. Once you create the document, you need to make sure that you save it as a .html document as well. So we look at example of tags here. So we see an example here. We've got the HTML start tag. Okay, we also have our closing tag down here. Everything's going to be contained within those. Now, when you have an HTML tag, opening tag, and closing tag, in between those, you're going to need a head tag, closing head tag, and a body tag, and a closing body tag. Start and end tags. And we'll cover those. But you will have your web page broken into those two sections. All right, so looking at this example here, we do have a title start tag. All right, so this is the text that's going to be visible to the user. Okay, so the web page example, that is what the user of the web browser, the website through the web browser is going to see. And then we have our title tag, the end tag. So I'm going to pop over here to this real quick. So we see the title here of our document we're going to be working on this week. So we have the title tag, strike a chord. Right, so I'm going to pull up the actual website. You'll see up here at the top, the title is listed, strike a chord. Okay, I'll give you an example. I'm going to cut this. I'm going to type in this is a new title. I'm going to save the document. And then when I refresh, you'll see that this is now changed. Okay, so when I put a title in, this is where it's going to appear. Now I'm going to undo that. Save it again. So we're back to strike a chord. So when you put a title in, it goes in the heading section. Okay, generally, most of the stuff in the head section is not something the user is going to see. Okay, the information is going to be in the body section. That is what's going to be displayed to the user. Head is going to have different items such as your title, meta tags, keywords. Those top items will go up into your head. Also, any links when we get into linking CSS or cascading style sheets or a JavaScript file, which we will cover later in the course. When we start linking those in, those will go in the head section. So think of the head section as more as a administrative section for your web page, and the body is more the content. It's more what your viewer will be seeing. All right, so HTML, it combines tags and descriptive attributes. It's going to define how a document should appear in a web browser. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about some of these. So some of these other ones include headings, paragraph tags, hyperlinks, lists, images. All of these are going to have a start and an end tag. And they're going to follow the same rules or syntax. So we have once again, we have paired tags. They use the same syntax. So we have our start tag, the content, that's what's going to be viewable by the user, and then our end tag. Notice our end tag ends like this. So once again, we start off with the start tag. We see the example here of the title. We use the closing tag, and the content is what the user sees. Now, sometimes you will not have content. Okay, so sometimes these HTML elements can be void of content tags or empty tags. So one of these may be the BR tag. That's a line break, or the HR, which is a horizontal line. So for example, this would just put the syntax is just going to be just the tag. All right, so we look in here and see the HR, that's our horizontal rule. And we see how that is displayed in our web browser here. Now, if I was going to add a line break in here, so let's say this, refresh, you see now I've created space. And so I've put it after that. Remove it, and it takes the space out. So those are empty tags. All right, so the paragraph tag is just going to be a simple P. In there, we're going to put our text. That's what the user is going to see. And then we saw the example of a line break and how it put space in HR. We looked at the example of that as well. Okay, so all the code that they've been giving you examples of, this is the results when they view it in a browser. So the web page title, the different paragraphs, the line break, or the line, the break, the fourth paragraph. There are other technologies that are related to HTML. XML is the W3C that introduced the XML, the Extensible Markup Language, in '98. XHTML was the rewritten version of HTML that combined XML. It was developed in 2000. It's still accepted on most mobile device platforms. Most part, though, we're going to use HTML. That's the most recent version of HTML. This allowed us to use several new different elements, such as a header, a nav, main, footer, so we could better define those areas of our web page. And it also provided us a more flexible approach to web development. Now, HTML is used in conjunction with other programs, programming languages. One of you guys will take in scripting technologies is JavaScript. That's a popular client-side scripting language. It creates interactivity within the web browser. All right, so to use JavaScript, it's going to reside in the browser, and it's going to be in the web page that has HTML or .html or .htm extensions. It also has jQuery. It's a library of JavaScript programs, and it's designed so you can use easy integration on a web page. PHP is an open source server-side scripting language. And this is used for common tasks such as writing or searching a database located on a central server. This is something you will take in web development too. So scripting technology teaches JavaScript. That's client side. Okay, that's on your end in your browser. PHP will reside on a server. ASP is active servers page. It's also another server-side scripting technology. There also are web authoring tools. Most time you can just use a simple text editor. Notepad++ is my preferred. As you can see here, the really thing I like about it is it does give me the options here, the different color, and the tags are different color. And also, if I select an opening tag, I can see where the closing tag is on that document. Now, one thing I'll point out, if I remove this closing tag, I can double click these, but I want to make sure that, oh, actually, let me do this here. So this is the importance of the closing tag. I'm going to save this. Now, the tag I put in here is a bold tag. Actually, let me put that back. And so if I wanted the word mission to be bold, I need to put a closing tag in. And we'll see how it looks here. So now the word mission is bold. So if I take this out, see how it's now been applied to every bit of my text. So that is the importance of making sure that I have my tags closed, because that's telling the browser where to stop reading that, where to stop interpreting that tag in this. But my preferred preference is Notepad because it does show me the closing tags and this, so it helps me not run into that problem. But you can use other text editors. You can actually use Microsoft Word to develop web pages as well. There's other ones available too. Just really becomes a personal preference for you. You also see can use a what you see is what you get editor. This is something like Adobe Dreamweaver. That gives you a graphical user interface to design the web pages, a lot of drag and drops, redesigning, dragging those around. You also can use online code editors where you do not have to design, install any software. All right, so the assignment for this week was to design a basic web page. All right, so we're going to put this code, and I've already done this on MonTap, so we'll go over in a minute. A couple things in this. We'll look at the code. All right, the doc type. We want to be sure that we develop this, or define this, saying this is our document type. It's HTML. Okay, then when we're designing our web pages, we want to put the open and close an HTML tag. We also want to put the language that we're going to have this written in the case English. Then we're going to put the head and body sections. Our information is going to go in here as well. In this case, we have the title, our meta tags. It's going to say what character set we're using. Body is going to be the content that's going to be viewable by the user. All right, in this case, we're going to make sure that we break everything down into separate paragraphs. We're going to put our rule in, our line in, close our body tags, and close our HTML tags. Now, when we look on this on MonTap, as soon as I reload, so the summary for this is that we're a local musical lesson company called Strike a Chord. We're going to start a website, so we're going to create a basic website. It's going to show you an example of what your completed site should look like here, and the tasks that we need to complete here as well. Now I'm going to reset mine. So all my tasks are reset, and you see my grade is correctly right now a 0. All right, so we'll run these checks again just to clear this off. So first, as we open the plan.html file, which is going to be open here, and in here I'm going to create the basic web page. I'm going to put just the doc type, HTML head, title, meta, and body elements. So when I type this in, it'll give me the option to finish the text. And you can also do this here. So when you have a tag open, with this, if you just click on this, it's going to add that in there. So actually, I'm going to do that. I'm going to put my tag in pairs in here. If I type correctly. So that's all I have to do is start my tag, and it's going to give me the option for the closing tag there. So inside this tag of the head, I'm going to put my title. I'm going to close my title, and same with my meta. The spaces there. Body, and then my closing body. All right, so I've finished this task. So I'm going to click here and run the check. All right, so it tells me I've passed everything in there. Once again, if I look on the task here, I will see that now I've got 14% of the project completed. All right, so just for time purposes, I'm just going to copy and paste. You guys will need to make sure you put everything in correctly. So I'm going to add the language attribute to the starting HTML tag and specify the language as English. Now it's going to give you the example here. So I want to add this into the HTML. And then I'm going to run this check. The next one is adding the text strike a chord to the title element. Okay, so this chapter here is going to pretty much give you the answers for this. So remember that this goes in between these tags. Okay, this is what the users are going to see. Now, I've done something here that I want you to notice that it did not count that. Okay, so the reason why I did not pass the check is because it does not match exactly what they want here. So I want to make sure that I have the correct capitalization, the correct spelling, and everything correct on this. And now I pass the option here. All right, so in the meta tag, I'm going to put the character set. Run the check. Okay, I have something incorrect here. Put this in the wrong place. All right, so the body element. Next, we're going to put a element in here that's going to have the text of proposed website for strike a chord. Then we're going to add the paragraph. So I'm just going to copy this here. Once again, we'll make sure that we do open and close our tags. Notice these are on separate paragraphs. So let's just look and see what happens if I just put it as one paragraph. Okay, so it passed for this one. Sometimes it will take it, sometimes it won't. It's still a general good idea, especially with MindTap. Put it exactly as it's wanting it. All right, so now I'm supposed to put the line, the thematic break, followed by 2 blank lines. So I'm going to put this in. All right, so then I've got to put all of this information in here. All right, so I've copied the information, just pasted it over here. Completed all this. You do not have to answer this question to me in this. So I'm going to now click on Tasks, and I will come down and click the Submit. Make sure that all of my tasks are completed, and then hit the Submit button. All right, so let's working through Chapter 1, Lab creating a web page for Strike Chord. We covered Chapter 1. We talked about the HTML elements. Different languages. Okay, once again, when you get into Chapter 1, okay, these are for your practice. These are not graded. Anytime you see practice under here, it's not graded on Blackboard. I'm sorry, graded on MindTap, nor the grade sent to Blackboard. The Analyze, Correct, and Improve, these are for your discussion questions. Okay, you will still need to go through and do this assignment. And once you have finished it, you will have a question down here that you will answer in your discussion. All right, so that covers Chapter 1. If you guys have any questions, feel free to give me an email